Hey everybody, it's Cinnamon Cooney, your Art Sherpa, and today we're going to be painting a really easy, mystical, kind of Halloween themed Autumn Floral. It's got all the good vibes in it. It's in acrylic on canvas. I'm going to be breaking it down step by step. And actually this particular one I think is easier than everybody thinks. On the mic is my husband John.
Hey everybody, it's Cinnamon Cooney.
Hello.
Ooh,
And
I
there
turn
is
myself
almost
off every
like
time.
on cue.
Almost
it comes
on
up.
cue. Almost on
Almost
cue,
on
isn't it?
cue.
I gotta hear myself. So you know it's live. If you're wondering, is this really live? That would be a good indicator that it is. On today's lesson, I'm going to be using an 8x8 canvas. I use double-sided tape to fix it to my turntable. I get that question a lot. It's not magic. I don't have a special magic canvas stick to the thing, but I do have sticky tape. So if you're wondering what that is, that's what it is. I've got a little butterfly on here, and it says bloom and be blessed and grow and have joy. So those are my wishes or intentions for you. On the palette, I'm going to show everybody where the stuff is. So John's got to make me small. There I am. The Mars black is down here. Phthalo blue, phthalo green, cad yellow medium, quinacridone, yellow ochre, cad red, dioxazine purple, and burnt sienna. And I realized I forgot to put out my quinacridone magenta, which is why I suddenly blurted it. Because I think I've got a little, yeah, I've got a little bit of it in there. Super sorry, guys. Sometimes that happens to me. Like, I get so many things going on, and I'm like, oh, I think I need a color. And then I'm like, oh, I do. All right. So I put a little quinacridone magenta out. If you don't have it, it's not that big of a deal, but it's a nice little pop of pink, and it'll help take the purple in a good direction. How you guys feeling about this lesson today? Anybody feel nervous about painting flowers?
I'm nervous.
For not painting the flowers. So before we get started, I want to let you know stuff. This particular floral is very low pressure because these are fantasy blooms and not based on stems or botany that everyone is super familiar with, like say a daisy or rose. It really lowers the pressure on you to put that perfect burden on yourself, right? Sometimes when we're real familiar with the subject matter, we tend to burden ourselves with the concepts of perfect and it's right or it's wrong. And we don't have to do that because these are magical blooms. These are mystical blooms. These are maybe blooms in a dark fairy's garden or a witch's garden. We don't really know. But what we know is no one in your family knows what they're supposed to look like. So knowing that your family and friends don't have a it's supposed to look like expectation in their heads and that you don't have one, I think it's going to make it easier for everybody to do. I think this is going to actually rank out more like a one hoot. Are you ready to hop on in and give them a step?
Sure.
All right, we're going to break these videos down into steps. Those steps will later be time-stamped into the video so that you can find your place again in the chapters. And then also about 7 to 10 days after a video, we release a thing called a mini book, which is the written out instructions that match the video and those chapters with step-by-step images. So if any of those kind of resources would help you, those are free. You just got to wait a little bit of time and hit that subscribe button and go make an account on the website, which is also free. First step is everything is black. How easy is that? Everything is black. Because this is a dark painting. So we're going to start with that. Everything is black. But I'm going to show you a trick how even if you're using student paints, you can absolutely paint over dark colors with light colors. Still get vibrancy. Vibrancy and glows. That's what we want. We're going to really learn about glows today. We're going to learn about how the brushes can make petals feel so easy. It's almost like cheating. And it's not cheating, but it feels like cheating. And I love it when art feels like it's cheating, but it isn't cheating. Not that there's really cheating in art unless you try to pretend to do an art fraud. Don't do art fraud. Don't eat paint. Don't do art fraud. Those are my rules.
Basic life advice from the Art Sherpa.
Don't be. Also, don't throw things on national works of art. That's more art advice. Do fight for a healthy planet for all of us. Definitely do that.
Yeah.
Maybe don't make a museum guard's life a total misery. That's me though. I'm at that age. I'm at that stage of life. You know? Where I got them wisdoms.
The wisdoms.
Wisdoms. Maybe they're wisdoms.
Don't throw paint on art.
Don't. Well, unless you're.
Don't. Worse than that, don't throw soup on art.
Don't throw soup on art.
No soup for you.
No soup for you. I'm gonna be on about that. Here's why I'm on about that before I dry this. This apparently has been going on for a minute. It just caught our attention recently, and
they caked one before.
It's a whole thing of spilling and
there's a food
pouring.
movement.
And I'm not saying what is right or wrong. I'm just saying that I think a lot about everyone who was there that works at that museum. In that moment when they were like imagining what cleanup was going to take and take down, and I just was like, my heart went out to them in that moment. If that's a weird thing, but I'm not saying what's right or wrong because I'm not here in the world to do that for anybody.
No, not at all.
All right, except don't eat paint.
This just caught our Gen X zeitgeist of what? And then we found out there was cake throwing and all sorts of different usings of things. Now, I think that some artists would like sort of maybe even get into that a little bit. Like the Dadaist movement seems like they would want you to perhaps interact with their art a little bit more. But I can't really speak for them. Most of them are dead, I think. So I'm sure there's some modern Dadaists.
Oh, there's a good question from Lily Cleveland.
What's that?
For step 2, there's a good question for Lily Cleveland.
You want me to read it? I have to go back and look.
Oh, no, I see it.
Oh, read it.
Lily says, do you have to name your paintings?
Oh.
Right. And I guess actually she put the parentheses around name. Like, do you have to do that? No. It's good if you're selling artwork to name your work. One, it helps you keep a record, and it's another way of separating out works, especially in a series. It helps raise a perceived value from the collector to you as the artist when you name your works. And sometimes it's fun. Like, I think it's like sometimes the fun, well, for other people. Me, I name my paintings. If you've been here for 7 years with me, you're like, girl with balloon, tree, and dog. Because I have to name things for Google. I don't get to do fun arty names anymore. But if you want to help me name my paintings for the mini books and for their official names, I let the patrons do that. And I put up an artwork and I say, you name this. And then they give me amazing names that are super meaningful, that are not good for Google search, but are good for the soul.
Are we stepping now?
Yep. Now, I'm going to get a number 6 filbert from the Simply Simmons line. This is a good line of brushes if you have a budget that you're on and you need them to be somewhat halfway decent. This is a good choice for you. A lot of great brushes out there. This is just a good economy choice. And sometimes economy choices are harder to find. Now, if you're using the traceable, which there is one, it's free to download off the website. This is where you would engage that traceable to your surface. But if you're doing the part where you kind of sketch along with me, I'm going to show you this trick.
I have the overwhelming...
Scam Likely is always calling me.
I have to say, engage, number 2.
Now, even if you use the traceable, though, you're going to want to do the white paint because that's going to be the trick to get your bright yellows and your bright oranges. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to get a little white onto my brush, and the surface is now technically dry. And I'm going to come... If you divide the canvas in half, slightly on the left-hand side in the upper corner area, I'm going to make a little mark right here. See where that little mark is on the canvas? Doot, 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 doot. And then let's come over here and make another little mark. Those are 2 little flowers. I'm going to move him down a bit. Now, when I have that placed in, I'm going to do an interesting thing. I'm going to, on the corner of my brush stroke out a little petal there. Make a little curve stroke. And another little curve stroke. And notice that it's a dry brushing. I'm not like perfectly doing this. What this is going to do is this is going to make it where when I come back with my light color, see how I did these on a flick out? I went flick, 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 flick. So this filbert, when I use it on a dry brush, see there's not a lot of paint, not a lot of water, it allows the filaments to flare out, and that gives you that dry brush kind of effect. If these terms all feel crazy and new to you, I have a whole free program called Beginner Acrylic Painting for Everyone. And it really takes 2 years off of your learning curve. And it's just free to do. It's just out there for you right now. You can do it anytime. But it is superbly helpful, I think. All right, did a little curved petal back there. That's not bad, is it? Nice little petal coming up here. These are a little more on the wide. And then I can come back here and make a little more shaped petal. So see how these give the essence of the flower? A lot of times when we're painting flowers, what we're painting is the shape and value. That's how light or dark something is. And the hue, that's the color something is. There we go. We have 2 blooms and that wasn't too bad. Not terrible, terrible. Now I can, at this stage, go on the toe of my brush and make a little wiggly up. These are sort of like, I don't know, these are little pollinating stems or something in their world. Hard to say. I'm going to rinse out my brush because sometimes when you're dry brushing, paint will start to dry on your brush. Now below here a little bit is a round, it's almost like a lantern plant. The little orange lanterns, but it's not. So I'm going to make a little round area that I can put that lantern on. It's like a squish circle. Doesn't have to be perfect though, does it? Over here, down a little bit towards the right hand side, I'm going to make little curvy comma strokes. Look at these. See them? This is talking about like a messy little mum style flower. It's not a mum, but it has a mum styling to it.
Mummish.
It's mummish. I'm going to make another little round area. And another little round area. I don't really have to worry too much about this one over here, but I can kind of dry brush that lightly in so it can easily have some highlights. Now down here, another little round area. So I'm just making this little circle. I'm just getting the shape and scale. How I gave this sort of an autumn feel is when the way I designed this was when flowers dry, often they have seed pods or they have little things that help them fly through the air. Whenever you're imagining something, you can use things that really exist to help make your imagination feel more anchored. So that's why some of these feel like they could be something you're familiar with, because plants tend to do that in autumn, and that's how we created that feeling. There's another little flower that could be there. Make some little comma strokes here for another little flower that's there. Now I don't need to do every stem because some of the stems are dark, but I do need to do something else. I'm going to come here on my toe and make some little spots. These are going to be the embery glows. Jennifer, hi, John and Cinnamon. How are you guys living your new home? Well, Jennifer, we are not there yet. So we made our awesome video, and we were going on previous advice. After the awesome video, some amazing Irish people came forward, people who've been expats. Lots of advice came in. Most importantly was that there might be a conflict with us being YouTubers where we couldn't upload any videos or work at all while we were waiting on our extended working visas. And we were like, oh, but it's YouTube and we can film it ahead and everything. But we talked to somebody and they're like, oh no, these rules have changed. And so we had to change the type of visa that we were getting and our timeline to January 15th. So we are almost looking forward to our new home. Right now, I'm house sitting for my mom while we're waiting to get settled. All right, I'm going to do a little ember. It's been kind of a journey. All the way from packing up to getting our house ready for sale to, you know, having that go really pear-shaped on us a bit. So the best thing about this whole move has been you guys, because you've made sure that it goes as smoothly as it could for us every step of the way. I'm making little dots going up. So if you don't know what we're talking about, we are in the middle of relocating to Ireland. I'm very excited about it.
Exciting, yeah. Pretty exciting.
It is pretty exciting. A little more dots here. Anywhere you're going to have a glow, you're going to really want to put one of these little white dots. See how that, but it's not hard, is it? This is the whole structure, and you can kind of see right now the floral coming together through this. Isn't that wild?
Yeah.
All right. Jennifer's like, thank you for the clarification. I haven't been on in a while. And Florence Bullen says, hi, everyone. Binge watching your free beginning course. Thank you for sharing your skills. Much appreciated. From Devon, England, which is going to be, we're going to be much closer to you. I think we'll be able to do like, I have a friend, Tanya, who's over in Scotland. And I think we're going to do a meetup in England and maybe a meetup just in Scotland. Sort of do some European meetups because we've been able to do some US-based stuff, but we haven't been able to do anything in Europe. And so we're going to do that. And I'm not at all going to treat it like a vacation while I'm working.
I'm actually remarkably looking forward to driving around Europe. I kind of want to get like a late 70s Lancia and just drive around.
You have been talking about this nonstop. Put up a step.
Okay. Okay, this one.
Auntie Artist says, I want to move and go on adventures. Take me with you. Guess what? We are. Part of the system that John has been working on is a mobile live system, which we don't have completely tweaked out. But we're getting it kinked out. And I think we're going to be able to take you on location to paint like, you know, in beautiful places and be like, here we are together live. See the birds fly by. Mm-hmm. That's our hope.
It's the plan.
It's the plan anyways. I'm going to dry this a little bit just to make sure it's dry.
Okay. We have more cameras that, so I need one more camera for this studio to be the best I can make it. So that one, I'll probably add that camera sometime, but in the next couple months. I've just got to budget it. They're not inexpensive. So, but once we get to Ireland, I'll have all of my other cameras that are all turny, panty, zoomy, cool stuff that will be able to look around the world.
That'll be fun.
Yeah.
We had a Sparkov say, love from India. And I want you to know we're also planning to, some trips that we have on the bucket list is going to India, taking a trip to India.
Yes.
And then also I want to go to Japan very much. And Korea. Mm-hmm. Not
South Korea is really
South
cool.
Korea. Just South Korea.
South Korea.
Just South Korea. Because I watch a lot of Korean comms. I do. Little rom-coms there. It's my thing. Now I am grabbing a brush. This is a number 8 Artini Raphael brush. It's hog bristles. Simply Simmons makes hog bristle brushes in all the shapes, so you can get an equivalent here. This is a terrific brush line. I highly recommend them, but you know, wherever your budget is. And I'm going to get it a little bit wet, wipe it off on a paper towel. I'm going to come over here and take a little bit of my purple and magenta together. And I'm going to come around, not into my glows completely, and start kind of dry brushing on the black a bit. And this might be hard for you guys to see in the camera, but not hard for you guys to see with your eyes, a bit of purple glow.
I think we can see a little bit of it there.
Yeah, this is pretty dark. Pretty dark. Magenta and dioxazine purple. Doesn't need to be everywhere, it's just a little bit. I still want to leave like a lot of nice room for it. All right. And then I'm going to go more into the magenta, as you do, and a little bit into the white. And kind of imply a little bit of a lightening around where that glow is. Just a little bit. See what I'm doing? Subtle stuff. It's okay to be subtle in art. Like a little bit right here, kind of blending that down. Isn't that nice how that goes?
It is.
Back into my purple. It does not have to be perfectly everywhere. This is just nice. And you ever notice how like when you put color on very, very dark hair and then the sunlight hits it and it's just like, whoa, this will do that in your painting. A lot of times people stop at just the black and you miss that kind of magic that you can get when you add a color over black that's slightly transparent, and it will pick up in the light, especially in your home. I'm just kind of bringing that around. Doesn't have to be perfect. Again, these are little glows. It'll be little hints, a little hit here and there. Right? So if I put a little white on, I can kind of come around. Maybe right in there. Just a bit of it. What a subtle, subtle thing. Subtle things can be big things. A little more into the magenta down here. So coming around again, like a staining, a little more magenta and a little bit of white. That's how you get that little bit of glow into a dark canvas. And you can paint everything purple if you want. I like to have it just a few places, like there's almost like a backlighting. So I'm not going to take it any further. You can take it as far as you want. When we come back, we're going to do the next step.
All right.
Oh, wait. I've
drank?
got some super chats to thank you.
Oh.
Anne-Marie Pratt, thank you so much. It's an Ann party. And J.A. Steele, thank you, Cinnamon John. Julie from Nova Scotia. Sorry, I have to say it like that. Nova Scotia. Can't help myself because I love it so much. Oh, thank you guys so much. We really appreciate the support. It does help us in our show. And Heather C., thank you. Man, it is a big party today. I'm loving it. All right, did we get our step?
No, I wasn't sure if you were going to dry it.
I could, to be safe.
You dry.
I don't know why I'm throwing my hairdryer as far from me as I possibly
I don't know.
can.
You're just like exercise.
Just throwing it away.
So, yeah, just sometimes it's good to dry between the layers so that the purple doesn't, or the darker color doesn't bleed into the lighter colors, which you're going to be putting onto the subsequent layers. So, you know, and it will also just sort of, you'll see it change the sheen and it'll sort of blend in there a little bit. Be more like, oh, it's glow, because it's not there. Okay, now we're ready for a step.
Melinda Kuhar's like, what size filbert? I had a call from work. It's the number 6, but you could use an 8 or a 4. Just something in this range in relationship to a finger, if that helps you kind of scale it. You know, things don't have to be exact. They can be approximations, be up or down a little bit from each other, and it won't mess with you. Now I'm going to want to put some stems in because I'll come back and put little petals a little more defined over it. And I'm going to get my yellow ochre, my yellow oxide, and a little bit of my burnt sienna together. See them mixed together? They make kind of a very nice color. And add a little black to part of it. See? So we've got some variants here. Got some white there. So we've got a few little hues to work with. I am going to come off the back here and start to put in stems. I can go into darker colors. I'm just going through the different browns that I've mixed up. Little touches there. Could be little bits of leaves and things. Little downward stroke. See, it's just nice and kind of muted in the background. Oh, I might just go a little bit crazy right there. Sometimes I'll do that. If I need to darken it so it blends more into the background, I can just add black. Kind of a sweeping stroke downward. That kind of makes a bit of a stem there. Not a problem. We're doing great. Now I'm going to want you to take a little bit of your burnt sienna and phthalo green together, mostly burnt sienna, and then add a little yellow ochre to it. And you're going to get a very muted green. We're going to really knock that phthalo back, don't we? I'm going to come between my stems a few places, adding some marks of this little green color. Little leaves. Dry brushing here. Notice I'm keeping the pressure of my brush light and I'm wiggling it around, and I'm not touching the canvas in a heavy-handed way. And if I do that, let's come back with a little bit of white to lighten up some of this green so we can really see it. This is a dark floral, so it's important to do that. Maybe a little more yellow ochre, a little more titanium white. Get a little more into my green and pop some of that a couple places on stems. Wiggle this over a bit. Get right back over to my brown. A very light bit of floral off to the side there. Look at that. We're stemming it up. We're doing great.
Looks so
Line's
good.
out.
So it looks so good.
And I'm going to want to switch brushes. I'm going to switch to a round brush. I just want to have a better point on it. I'm going to mix a little more yellow ochre into this kind of muddy brown mix that I've been really enjoying. That's the burnt sienna, a little black, and I'm going to get some white into it. And add some highlights to my stems. Here and there. See, and that's going to create some dimensionality to what we're working on. You want to make sure, I'm going to get a little of my brown and maybe add some little petal strokes. Have you ever seen those where you just press and pull?
Yeah.
That can be very nice. Adding a few of those little petal strokes there. Defining some of my stems. That's a lot of fun painting on these. Maybe bring some of my bright brown here. Look at that go. Isn't that lovely?
Really is.
Bring some green back up. Look at that. Whew. Let's dry it, and we'll come back and do the fun part.
Okay.
Betty Baronic says, hello, I love the wispiness of the brush strokes. So soft looking. So the plus to wispy brush strokes is they're actually pretty easy to do. The negative is it's very easy to get anxious that the way you're doing them is not perfect or right. So the number one thing you can do for yourself is just kind of like be okay with what is happening. And go, it's okay. My brush stroke is good. I'm valid in my experience.
Right.
I'm going to draw my surface. I need a hook at the table.
We had
like
one. Well, I'll get one for you there.
Like something that hangs it like right here, like a holster.
Yeah. So, don't forget, if you look in the link in the description down below, there's links to stuff. Mini books, the traceables, reference materials, that stuff, it's all kind of down there. While you're down there, you might as well click that thumbs up button as you're passing by. It won't hurt anything. I was saying, while they were down there in the description down below, they could just click that little thumbs up button if they wouldn't mind too much.
That would be awesome.
You know, just passing by.
And also hit the subscribe because we do free art lessons like this all the time. We do them live. We have tons. We have 1,500 lessons. We have free resources like the beginner acrylic course. And we write free books now. We did like 200 last year or something.
It's
crazy.
Couple hundred.
Yeah, that are free. That match the lessons from like, I think, what, 21 on?
Yeah, somewhere around there.
Well, we were all home with a bit more time on our hands. So, you know, you do what you got to do. We're putting up a step.
Yep.
I'm going to put in some of my creamier, more muted. They're not yellow, but they're a little yellow kind of flowers that they've gone dry, and we see this nice aqua and everything on them. I really like them quite a lot. So interestingly enough, I'm going to take my yellow ochre and I'm going to add Doc's purple to it. And those of you painting with, you're like, wait, isn't that the complementary color, and won't that gray it out? Yes, it will. Big trick for painting fall. So I've added a little bit of purple. I'm going to come here now and start to add the depth of color, my deep color, to my petals a little bit. Let's get one here. I'll come back with a fine brush and catch the little flying bits, little upward strokes, allowing it to just feather out. It's kind of fun, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I like it.
Come
It's
around
very
here
shiny.
with this in the depth around what is my little orange balls. Sounds terrible, but it's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to add some of this deep color. I'm going to reserve some of my white here where it can get lighter. I just want to have that. But see, even with the yellow ochre being transparent, having the white under here really helps this color sit on top of the black, which can be super hard if you're not aware that that's coming. I'm going to rinse out for a second. While I'm here, I'm going to get a little bit of my Doc's purple and my yellow ochre together again. Just the starting, and I've got my number 4 round in my hand now. So I went from my number 6 filbert to my number 4 round. It's looking pretty good. I can get a lot more yellow into my mix. And then I start doing something very important. I start working white into the brush. Quite light. Loosely mixed. Which means I'm not thoroughly creating a uniform color. I have a very uneven, streaky color. I'm lightening that up now, aren't I? Bring some up through the stamens here. Maybe a little more yellow ochre. Letting some of that dark color show through. Just coming through with some white, working right in, and it's lightening everything up. Number 4 round. Making little comma strokes again. We like them little commas, getting into more yellow ochre. Well, that's working well. A little more yellow ochre here. One brush stroke, one brush stroke. I'm going to get some brown black onto it. Got to deepen this color here. I haven't rinsed though, if you're noticing. Back over into my light color. All right. Let's call that a step, and we are going to dry. Thank you, Nicola. I really appreciate that. We are going to dry. And when we come back, we're going to add the next poppy layer.
Okay. So, sorry about that. I just had a little technical thing that went wrong there. So, sorry about that. I had to make sure that everything was going. There we go.
Woohoo!
I had a little technical thing.
You had a what?
I had a technical thing.
You had a technical thing?
It's a thing.
Was a thing?
It's not a thing no more.
It's not a thing no more. Let's finish out some of these colors on these dry flowers. Now I'm going to get a little of my yellow, cad yellow, and yellow ochre kind of together. This sort of brightens them a bit. And I may go ahead and grab some purple in it to mute it, but you can see it's like just a touch. And bring that back. Dry brush over that. Maybe a little heavier on the white this time. I'm back on my 6 filbert. See, I leave a lot of what I pre-painted just still showing through. I don't take it all out because I don't want it all gone. Grab a little of my dark color, mix it into my brighter. Just so that I am brightening this, but not so much that it pulls forward. Because if it's lighter, it's gonna pull forward. I'm gonna grab a little bit of white and yellow on here. In that center, look at that go. That's like magic. Put just a little bit there because I just like to move colors around sometimes. Super fun for me. So see, we're dancing through the colors, rinsing off, just to keep control of what I've got going on. And I'm going to come to my yellow and ochre and smidge of purple. But it's still bright, isn't it? Put a little bit there. Maybe a little bit at the top pod. Let's get some white on the brush. Put a little bit of white at the top of that one. If you're having trouble control with your filbert, you drop down to your number 4 round. And a little bit of a highlight there. Just barely one there. So, you know, it's about control. Little white here. Dry brushing there. That looks good. Little white. Little tiny curving strokes for petals. Now I'm going to switch over to my round. Right? Can't do the rest of it with my filbert, so I'm going to switch to my round and come into that cad yellow, yellow ochre, toned with a bit of Dock's purple. Highlight some. Not everything, it's just about finding little bits of it that would work. Now I've got this interesting mix right here, but if I take my phthalo blue and my phthalo green together, and add a bit of white to it, I can just stroke out a couple little colors there. Isn't that fun?
Yeah.
Maybe up the back of my little spiral. Bring a little petal implied up the back there. So I'm just pushing those out. I'm going from the mid-belly to the toe and I'm dragging that out. If I want, I can add a little white and a little yellow to the mix that I have. If I get a little blue on here, it's really going to pop. Doing that fairly well. There, lightening that up.
Yeah.
Little streaks there. I love it. This great color, definitely. A little darker. Just add some of my darker colors, more of my green and burnt sienna that was down here. I just get into that. Yellow ochre, and look, it just darkens it, no problem. Come over here. Little curving strokes, right? Little wiggles. Can rinse out. And you can get into your lighter color so easy and add a little yellow to it and just really change its nature. Making tiny, small curls at the top. Don't those become their own little weird petals?
Yeah.
Get a little bit of yellow on my brush and a little bit of white. Highlight those stems. So it goes a highlight, a stop, and that creates the part where the light peaks on the object. I'm enjoying it. A little bit of a highlight there. Can rinse out. And I think I'm going to want to take a little bit of my black and brown, right, my dark color, on my number 4 round. I'm going to tap up and down like these have 2 little dark spots at their front implied. Kind of exaggerate some of those little segments. Right, we're painting up those segments. See how we're exaggerating the pod? Wipe off, come back here. Just shape it out. I can get into my black and brown and here at the lower part of the pod, make little tiny loose brush strokes to exaggerate that. Come in here, grab, wipe off on a paper towel. I've got a paper towel between my palette and my canvas, and I wipe between strokes. Adding a little bit of just yellow ochre there. Look at that go. Get a little bit of just yellow ochre here. And I'm making little curves and curls. Okay, let's call it a step. And we're going to finish these flowers up, and then we're on to the orange pods. You guys ready?
No need to dry.
We don't actually need to dry.
All right.
Okay. How are you guys doing?
Good, I think.
Oh, Michael Art says really pretty. And Charlotte Vanderbug says, I really love these colors. It is amazing. And Veronica Jackson's, what's the best way to keep paints from drying so fast while painting? This wet palette. If you're really having trouble after that, putting a humidifier next to your wet palette really slows down the drying time. There's a sponge under here. This paper is soaked and the whole thing closes under a lid. The company that I use is Stay Wet. They don't pay me. Though I have met them, they don't pay me. I'm just saying that so you know, like, am I super biased or something? I wouldn't mind being paid. I'm not against it. I just am not being paid. I'm going to take a little of my purple and a lot of my quinacridone. I'm going to come into the center of this flower and I'm going to tap up with my number 4 round up and down, tapping up and down. It's making kind of like a rough little textured center. Because the inside of these tend to be a little rough. Let's add some little curl strokes here with just a little bit of that purple. Just a touch of it. Now, when I have that down, I can come get a lot of white. And highlight one side of that. Right? See how it's highlighted? A lot of white. Can get more into the pink. Maybe a little touch of pink right there. Little dry brush touch of pink right there. You won't put it everywhere, but it can be a couple places. That's okay. All right. I think that's actually going pretty well. I'm going to take a little bit of my cad yellow and a lot of my quinacridone magenta. I'm not trying to make orange. I'm just warming up my pink. Smidge of my white. And come right here and add just that bright pop of pink. A little bit of that there. A lot of white. Just a little bit there. And I might come and just put just a kiss on a couple places on my little stem. Yeah, I think I'm pretty happy with that. I think I'm pretty into that. I think we can start, actually let's make the yellow parts, the orange and yellow parts, their own segment. So let's step it and then we'll do these little kind of like basket flowers and then we'll come back and hit it with the details. All right. Lynn says it's a beautiful painting and Jen Butterfly is in the house and I see Barbara. Hey everybody. Okay, so we're going to start here. And interestingly enough, I'm going to begin with a little bit of my cad red and a smidge of my Doc's purple. Secret superpower. I'm going to add a few pops of that orange to my stems. I might even put some right there just because it hit me in this moment. And I think it'll look nice. A little bit there. I can always come in and easily highlight, right? I can even get a little bit darker with the Docs. And then I'm going to come back and highlight very, very much. Go right in the center right there with the Docs. And let's start talking about some of the segments now. Noticing that I'm curling the stroke down around, almost like a pumpkin making little segments.
Yeah.
You want to think of these more like a pumpkin and not petals. A little pop of orange right there. These are dark though. I'm going to just leave that there like that. Kind of imply some stems and leaves there that weren't there before. I'm going to rinse out, rinse, rinse, rinse. And while all this is sort of drying, one little strategy I can do is I can make a bright orange, which is just my cad red and my cad yellow. See how that's a very bright orange? And I can start by highlighting the little spots. Can even fleck in just some little dots that are just over the black. So we're just adding little spots and sparkles. Now what's really nice is if you have very inexpensive paint, the white will allow your orange to feel orange. You can get away with a lot if you have professional paints because they're so pigmented, but sometimes when you're doing student paints, one of the ways that they save their money is lowering the pigment levels of your paint, which is, it's okay. It's just frustrating if you don't know how that's going to impact you. I'm going to come back with this bright orange. On tops of these. There we go. I like that. I think I might even catch a couple top sides of those little leaves I've implied there. Sometimes it's fun. Come at the top of that orange that I painted now to sort of make little segments. Highlight a little bit of a segment there. Highlight a little bit of a segment there. That's pretty divided into segments now, isn't it? Sometimes I will sort of diffuse that by touching my brush around, making sure it's not too focused. This one I'm going to do just orange. So it's quite bright. All right. Now I do want to dry it before the next step.
Okay.
Because I want to be able to put very bright highlights and things on here. So it will help to have this dry so that the next part will layer correctly. Let's straighten that up. When we come back, we'll call this a step, and when we come back, I'll show you what's next. No.
So, this is coming along pretty good. I really like this. It's a very unusual floral. It's not your sort of usual approach to the colors. So I really like that it's got the darker background and the sort of glowy oranges and stuff to it. So one of the things I really liked about it. It's one of my picks from this year, so to speak. You ready for your step?
Yes. So budget tip for you guys out there, because professional paints can get so expensive. One thing you might not know unless you're in the industry is that usually art products are sold under a minimum assured pricing guideline, which prevents a competitor from putting another competitor out of business, right? So Jerry's Artarama can't take out Dick Blick, so to say. However, they're allowed to usually, under most contracts, twice a year do the lowest price that they're allowed to advertise, which is 40% off. So you want to have alerts on your phone and in your life looking for those types of sales, or checking the clearance areas of your online stores. On clearance, sometimes they can put them for 75% off because they're not advertising the price. So every once in a while, you can find like a tube of paint for an incredible amount of money that normally would be a huge amount of money. It's like anything else that you do. If you get good at the sales shopping, it's amazing. The other place, if you don't mind the risk. Sometimes people find like golden paint in online auctions. There's a risk to that. Like, I don't know anyone who's bothered to package the machinery to package this stuff is super expensive, but it's just not guaranteed. And, you know, there is some risks and problems to it. It might be old, all of that. However, so far in group, people have had some success with it. All right, I'm going to add a little more yellow to my orange, making a very light yellow orange. I'm going to highlight the middle of that. Maybe get back into the previous orange and kind of do another little layer here. Adding a little bit of a yellow there. The yellow orange is right here to the top of that. A little bit there. And a little bit here. Now another thing that I can do is I can come into my sparkles. And add a little bit of a highlight in the sparkle. It's not my last highlight, it's a little bit of a highlight. Where I had the
so
embers,
nice.
I can come in and kind of touch that a little bit. I don't want to paint out my darker orange at all. At all. I can wipe off and I can get some of my cad red. It's okay if I tone it with a bit of the yellow, but I'm really trying to be cad red here, right? I'm going to come just to the edge and sort of feather shade up some on around that little ball there. Gonna add some pops of that cad red. Maybe where the center of that is. Couple to here. You never know, right? A little bit of wiggly over there. Come back with a little bit of cad red. It's easy to get back into the orange to sort of shade it or blend it in, so you're not stuck at any point. I think it's fun to also add a couple embers of like cad red around for the magic glows. It just creates some zing and some little heat. And we all want a little zing and heat, don't we? I don't know. I do. You might be like, no, not really. No zing, no heat, thanks. You take a little bit of my yellow. Again, it's just tinged with a bit of the orange. Kind of come across that one there. A little bit of a highlight right there. On the bigger sparkles, I can pop a bright highlight of it. It's not my last one by any means. The other thing I can do, which we haven't done, is I can get my yellow ochre over into this, and it creates a muted kind of orange, which we haven't really leaned into. And I can add that to this downward pumpkin, where it's orange, but it's orange with a bit of a yellow ochre to it. See how that's going?
Yeah.
Can mute this side a bit. I need to come back with some of my little orange color. I just mix that back in and just make sure. Pop a little highlight there. Now up here, things are a little bit drier, and so I'm gonna come back. Let's dry everything, and then we're gonna just do the finishing touches that pop the whole piece.
Okay.
And we'll be actually done.
Wow, this is coming together a little faster than I had expected.
Just a fun little floral.
Yeah.
Just a fun little floral.
Just a fun floral. Super nice floral. So, thank you guys for joining us. It's been really fun doing the florals today. It's been nice seeing everybody hanging out, seeing all the chats. So, I will, one more.
All right.
All right.
Now here we have to do light. I'm going to stay with my number 4 round. I think it's a good way to go. I'm going to get my white out, and I'm going to get some of my yellow into it. Just white and yellow. I'm going to come here and add a bit of a glow to the pumpkin. It's not really pumpkin, it's the little gourd plant. A little bit here. Tapping a little bit. See, that glow there is what gives it that impression of that there's some sort of light going on. It's really intense. Little trick here. Little tiny comma strokes, highlighting a few petals on that. If you did the big ArtQuest Bloom year that we did this year, you did a lot of this. And you will remember it, I'm sure. A little bit of that glow on the pods. A little bit there too. See, it just puts the glow.
It just appears. I love the glow on this one.
Yeah, the glow is my faves. A little bit there. And hey, just, you know, you can definitely still have a little bit on those little antennas coming up. Just showing that go. I'm always like looking for places like, where can I put my glow? Where can I put it? And I'm going to wipe off my brush. Not really rinse it, but I definitely going to wipe it. And I'm going to get a little bit of my white on the tip of the brush. Kind of right there on the tip. Maybe I'll make it yellow white, but just very light. Not every ember, but some of them should have those little white centers. Why do they have that? That is the hot part of the burn, or the magic, so to speak. This is true when we painted a rose made out of fire. We paint a lot of things made out of fire. We use these rules a lot. Mary Myers says, I went to a bookstore, was crowded, guy looked right at me and said, I have a question, and he ignored me. Mary, I'm so glad that you told us that, because I think that, especially in the art world, we as the consumers have a reasonable expectation to be treated well. And I know that art stores love to hire kids from art school. I know they do. And it's good for them, but sometimes the customer service can be a little bit off, and it's good that we say something, because I think they all deserve to work for our business. Not the other way around. I don't want to work to buy art supplies at all. So I think it's really important. And I think that you should let the store know, to be real honest, because there's not enough margins in art supplies on markup for them to do that.
Right.
Actually, I don't think any store should ever do that. I think that there should be customer training. Usually the place I get bad consumer experiences is at Joann's. That's the one where like nobody can see me. They just like my questions never get answered and associates wander off. But it's always good to like speak up and share those experiences. Good customer service and bad customer service. That's how I became a fan of Golden, is they had such good customer service.
Yeah.
I'm going to take this very, very light yellow white. It's so light. Just make sure that I've got a little bit of something on that petal, you know? So that's even a higher highlight. You see that? So if you have it in you to give yourself 2 levels of highlight, you won't be sorry. I don't think. I think this is pretty good. Oh, good. They did apologize. So at least that's something. So here's my weird thinking on it. I'll monologue and then we're going to sign and go. And probably you can make me like the regular size because this was the last part, and then signature and go. I feel like on businesses, sometimes those experiences are that at a corporate culture level, there isn't a set of training and expectations put forward to say what it should be like for the consumer. Does that make sense to you, John?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like that's something that, like, you know, should be day one, like, understood. And I'm going to tell you a story. I was once the worst waitress that ever worked at Clubland, which was a big club originally in Chicago, and they came to try to remake the thing in Houston, and it was massive, and there was a show, and they had a pony, and a lady came down on a swing and sang, and drinks were super expensive, and all of that was true. And I had so much training, none of which made me a better waitress because of a failing in me to do math on the fly in a crowded, loud place. But we didn't know that till we opened. But the expectation was set there about how we were supposed to treat people. And in this area, I'd have to say it was such a good experience for people that came in, because there was no quarter given that it was okay to be anything but the exact environment and atmosphere that they wanted. And the training was there. It was provided there. I didn't really drink, so I couldn't really upsell alcohol. And also, maybe in 4-inch heels, I didn't have that great a balance. So it kept giving me the stares. And I ended up going another way because I realized, wow, this is a skill, and it's a skill that I don't have. But I did have the pleasant personality. And the manager even said, like, I got the heart of it. I just didn't have the quick math of it, you know, throwing like...
That's okay.
75 cents at the end of everything at me. I was like, no. Anyways, I think that made me realize, like, places, they can train you and they have an expectation of you and they can let you know.
That's true.
That's my thought. That's my thought. And that's a lot of times, like, if I see a store, like a big store like Macy's, and that store allows something rude to happen to somebody, I'm like, that's your culture. That's your corporate culture. Because if they say, and this associate was there for 20 years, I'm like, it's not like they're rude and they just newly became that. Like, they were that the whole time. Their associates knew. Somebody let that go for a long time. That's how I look at that. I haven't had a bad experience at Macy's. I just use them as an example of a long time store. So not slamming Macy's. And I'm going to add a little signature to it. I am very excited. Next painting we have is Saturday. We're going to be doing a big detailed owl. It's going to be 3 hoot. We're going to be working on feathers, working on our feather skills, and then be finishing with a dragon. And then we'll be into our grateful art. We're going to be all grateful fall y'all art coming up. And I'm super excited about that. I hope you like this weird little floral. I love florals. I love abstract florals. I love fantasy florals. I love real florals. Florals are fun. I have a lot of lessons about wildflowers, flowers, still lives, all of that, from 1 hoot to 3 hoots. So wherever you are, I've got a lesson for it. Never be afraid to ask. Michael R is like, when you say glow, I go crazy. Glow. And then Lynn's like, yeah, when you work in public, you should know to be nice with customers. Yeah, or have training, or like sometimes. Okay, my last like monologue and like a villain thing. At our retreat, before the retreat started, there was a coffee shop, and the coffee shop, I don't know, the person who normally worked wasn't there, and there was a person there, and man, the espresso machine was just not working, right? This happens. And they had somebody in training in there, and it was when no one can get help. Does that make sense? Like, remember that time it was really hard to get anyone to even show up to work? Maybe that's still going on. But I felt like, and I actually had said this to management, because the young lady, I mean, she was doing her best, and she didn't know how to set the machine. So I was like, okay, well, they failed at making sure that she had those skills. And when it all went wrong, she didn't know what to do or say. And I'm like, I said to that manager, I'm like, the most important thing you can do in that moment is to empower the employees to help the customer in that moment feel better, whatever that is, like comp the drink or give a drink ticket or something. But she had nothing that she knew she could do to make that situation better. And I'm like, that's not fair to her, because eventually that's going to trigger somebody at her that isn't going to be restrained and isn't going to think about these things. And then you're not going to have that employee either. They're going to go away too. So it's important as managers, to give people tool sets to be caught in a moment when things go wrong, that they can fix it without having to go, I don't know, and I don't know where the manager is, and I don't know where anything is, and I don't know how to do, any of it. She didn't even know how to refund the money off of the register.
Uh-huh.
And had no way to do that. And I was like, that's a terrible place to leave somebody. So that's I'm monologuing today. Okay.
It's okay. Yes, that's say.
Did you need to know any of that? I don't know.
I enjoy listening to you. I mean, that's what I do
love
most of the
my
time.
pinky roots today. I love them. I'm working on a new hair look, but I had to get this in early or it would take out all the other color. And I'm like, I'm kind of liking this. I might rock this for a minute before I do. I wanted to like red and orange hair, maybe like a fire. I don't know. But I'm liking this right now. So that's where we're at. Be good to yourselves. Be good to people working in service jobs. And be good to yourselves. Be good to each other. And I want to see you at an easel really soon. Bye-bye.